This is our head of business, Jono, and he might be cooked. And that's because he bought an old Tesla from our boss. 10 years ago, you'd be foolish to buy any other EV than a Tesla, but Tesla's problem in present day is that other brands have caught up. Now there's alternatives that are more efficient, more practical, and more fun. So today, my goal is to see if I can get our Tesla-pilled head of business, Jono, to ditch the Model S he bought from our boss. You know, when you floor it, boom. So this is the i4 M50. This is kind of their, at least for now, their entry-level EV sports sedan. So it really is kind of a Model 3 performance-esque competitor. There's definitely a few key things that this car has that what we're sitting in now definitely does not. First thing being a very premium feeling interior. You also have probably the best full self-driving capability of any car we're checking out on this list.
The one thing that you said off camera before we got in is that this car does have Apple CarPlay, which I heavily miss.
We also have Android Auto as well, so for you green bubble boys out there, you are perfectly covered by the i4 M50.
I didn't find it super luxurious. It felt kind of like there's a lot of things stuffed into the car. There's a lot of toggles, a lot of switches. And also, like for me, when I go luxury, it's like, oh, I feel spacious. I feel like it's a king size car. And that one felt really cramped. Like, look at this. This is like almost like a van in comparison.
So 0 to 60 is in the low 3-second range. Obviously it's wet and we've got multiple people in the car, so you're not gonna hit those numbers in a scenario like this, on a day like this. But that's like entering supercar territory. This has a good amount of power, 544 horsepower and I think 580 pound-feet of torque, so it's pretty...
it's a little jerky. It's a little jerky. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, because mine is about, I think, 770. I will say this, the handling on this car is miles better than my Tesla.
So suspension, we're looking at a better experience overall. Handling, we're looking at a better experience. You just don't have as good a straight line performance. This really is the sweet spot for power on a public road.
Well, one big question. Is this rear wheel drive or all wheel drive?
This is all wheel drive. Question for you. How many miles a day do you drive on average?
It's about 56 miles, give or take.
So that's one of the areas we can't simply ignore, the range in this car.
Yeah.
Compared to your Tesla, quite honestly, it's not great. It's got an 84 kilowatt hour battery, and so we're only getting about 240 miles on like your best day.
Is that 100%?
At 100%. MSRP of this car sits around like the mid 80s, but they go for about 50 grand-ish used, which is about what your Tesla goes for on the used market. So equivalent aftermarket value. So what's
I mean, for dollar to dollar, same, but I think you just get way more in this car. So, sorry, but I'm gonna stick with a Tesla on that one.
Fair enough. Good car, but maybe not for Jono.
Younger Jono, for sure. But I'm a bit more mature today. I'll just gun it.
Oh man, those tires are wheezing.
That's like nothing.
That felt better than before. Let's try it again on this other straight.
All
right, so we are in the Lexus RX 450h Plus.
Yes.
Premium/luxury. This is a plug-in hybrid from Lexus. It's basically a souped-up Toyota SUV with a bunch of premium trim and great fuel economy. Decent size, pretty much perfect spacing for you, I would assume. It's got 5 seats, pretty decently spaced back seats. Definitely an improvement on the i4.
Yeah,
right?
I will say that after my comment, I said like the i4 was like super compact and I felt like I was almost like claustrophobic at a point. This is a vast improvement. Like the leather feels really good. The seats are like nicely spaced for me. When I picked up this car, to bring it home, I took a photo and took a selfie going, "Hey Dad, I bought a new car." He instantly called me. I've never seen my dad call me that fast.
Yeah.
And he was like, "I am so proud of you, blah, blah, blah. Lexus is a great car." And then I'm like, "Sorry, Dad, I did not buy this car."
So, the one thing that this car has that the other cars in this lineup don't is, first of all, best in class range, at least of all the cars we're testing.
Yeah.
This is gonna get over 430 miles on a full tank / charge because you have the plug-in hybrid setup. So we ran the numbers, and despite it being more fuel efficient and it coming from one of the most reliable automakers to ever exist, it would still cost probably about, $1,000 and some change more to maintain and fuel up in terms of annual cost compared to the Model S. So still technically more expensive.
With the hybrid technology, I totally understand. I think it's a great system, especially for people who have range anxiety. But it feels like the Lexus, it kept prioritizing EV until it dies, then it'll switch to the gas engine. I was kind of hoping there would be like more of a mix, especially for highway driving, but it's just like EV all the way, then it goes to gas.
So in terms of performance, right, that's probably the area of this car that has for sure disappointed me the most.
Yeah.
We've got just a little over 309 horsepower, just about 300 pound-feet of torque because you have those e-motors.
You don't really buy this car for performance. You get this kind of car for A and B, travel, bring the family, pick up your relatives from the airport, and go on those long road trips.
So you're still looking at around 45, 50 grand for a used one of these, which puts you in used Model Y performance territory.
Yeah.
It would cost more to maintain, but I think for certain people it might make more sense if you don't care about performance. What do you think?
I mean, we said it already. It's way cheaper to run this car, and you get more performance out of it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So like to rank all these cars, this is definitely better than BMW. I would actually drive this over the i4 any day.
That car basically is too compromised because of its focus on performance. This car doesn't compromise enough on performance.
Yeah.
Leaving you wanting something a bit more...
kind of in between a little bit.
Yeah, I think I've got something for you that's going to be quite performance-oriented. Yeah, this is the Skidmaster Lucid right here, the Lucid Air Pure rear-wheel drive. Also happens to be the cheapest Lucid you can buy. So you've been living with this. How do you feel this compares to, firstly, I guess, interior experience? That's like one of the big differentiators between this and a Lucid. Kind of similar philosophy where it's pretty minimalist. You have two screens, one for your gauge, and then another one down here for other controls.
I find the interior experience is an improvement for sure. Everything feels more premium, even though this is the lowest end version of the Lucid you can get. I have the highest tier version of the Model S before Plaid.
Right.
It's a big difference. Here, we have CarPlay connected. That's a big bonus.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's kind of weird is this. Like this lower screen, once you're kind of set, this just becomes kind of like useless.
Well, and that's why you have this button right here. You swipe it.
Oh, damn!
And then it goes completely away. So
Why didn't anyone tell me about that?
So I mean, if you don't want the screen there, it doesn't have to.
There's so much things you could put in here. It really blew me away. For that kind of price point, for the performance, similar to the Tesla, but it's just like, it felt like a YouTube comment of going, I can make a better car, and he actually did it.
Yeah.
This is definitely like Model S style. I can like feel like I'm not in a little capsule or a little cockpit that's designed for my safety. It's still comfortable.
But also, the back seat is insane. It's
Yeah.
easily the most spacious back seat of any sedan I've been in. That's the thing where I feel like this definitely gets the Tesla beats it on practicality because you have a pretty, like I'll put in a clip I shot for the B-roll of me fitting my entire body inside of the front trunk and closing it.
Yeah.
Like that's how big the front trunk is. The rear trunk is kind of like weird shaped, but still pretty spacious, and you're allowed to fold the rear seats back for even more space back there. And so it's an incredibly practical sedan.
Yeah.
I guess one of the big things that is going to be a downgrade coming from your Model S is performance. So like I said, this is the cheapest Air you can buy, the least performance-oriented Air you can buy. And so you're only getting rear-wheel drive, and so off the line, you're not going to be blitzing off into the sunset in the way you would be in, other all-wheel drive performance-oriented cars.
Yeah, I never felt like it was 100% lacking, but maybe it was kind of lacking at like when you push the accelerator.
Now, I think that definitely comes down to Lucid's throttle mapping of the car. I think they wanted it to be a very smooth, peaceful ride, but still offer the necessary performance to survive out here on these Jersey roads. And you only have about 430 horsepower, and so
that's 300. That's 300 less than mine.
Given its size and weight, yeah, it's not a crazy fast car. You can get to 0 to 60 in about 4.2, 4.3 seconds.
And there's the one thing I actually learned. I actually assumed that it was air suspension.
Nope.
Until I watched the autofocus video. I was shocked. I'm like, that's just standard suspension for a Lucid.
But despite that, it still rides incredibly well, very compliant on the road, and steering feels really good.
And how much does this car cost?
So you could pick up this car easily for the same price that you bought your Model S for, maybe even less in the next 6 to 8 months.
I mean, but you're getting so much less than from what my Model S has. It's all-wheel drive. Mine came with full self-driving, like that's, whatever. And also, it's way more horsepower.
So one thing we haven't hit on is probably like the biggest selling point of the feature, and something that no Tesla actually offers despite what they claim. And that is over 400 miles of range on a full charge, which, I mean, that's, you pretty much only have to charge this thing one time a week. Lucid has announced that they will adopt the Tesla supercharging network. Yeah. So eventually you'll be able to take this car to a non-Magic Dock Tesla charger and charge up no problem. So when you combine that with the fact that you're already getting basically best-in-class range for the money, if not just the best range you can get on like a handful of EVs, period, it seems like a pretty good sell. And so you're not going to be getting that on a Model S, and if you upgrade to a Plaid, you're certainly not going to be getting 400. Maybe if you bought it brand new, you'd get it for the first day and a half, and then it's all downhill.
Yeah, just for reference for everyone, on my Model S, if I want to charge up to 90%, it gets up to 290, and that's like kind of a good estimation of range. On the way home, I was stuck in traffic, but this guy in a Ford Explorer just rushes towards me. He honked his horn like 10 times until I finally looked at him because I thought I was in trouble.
Yeah.
He gives me the biggest smile and the biggest thumbs up I've ever seen. And he's like, "You bought the right car." And I was like, what? I've never had someone actually say I had a cool car or chosen the right car.
So this car, MSRP is just under $70,000, but you can get the all-wheel drive version of this used for about 50 grand.
I talked to the wife and she was like, all right, let's crunch the numbers. So I entered it into my spreadsheet and it costs a lot more to insure. I definitely do want it. My wife wants it too. It's wife approved, but it's just like, how do I get out of this? Like this is still great. For
a lot of people looking for an EV, a Tesla definitely makes a lot of sense at various different price levels. But I think the thing we're missing here is that there's simply more to life than treating your car like a toaster. And that's why I have something very special I have to show you. I highly doubt this is a car you would ever consider buying, but I think it is the perfect reminder that these machines do indeed have souls.
Oh my God. Subscribe.
Yes, like and subscribe.
Oh my god.